I just want to share something personal for a minute. I often share some personal reflections on my Substack, which is also called Are You Kidding Me? But I don't often do it before one of my podcast episodes, but today's different. Today, I want to share something very personal. I was really struggling in 2019 and 2020. I was going through very bitter separation with my now ex-husband. My kids were trying really hard to adjust to their new life with their parents not together. For a brief moment in time, the house went up for sale because there wasn't really any way that I could possibly conceive of keeping it. My brother died in January of 2020, so my kids lost their uncle. And then right as we locked down for COVID, our family dog Otis, who was 12, was diagnosed with cancer, and they couldn't do anything about it except just make him comfortable. And we got about a week and a half with him before he left us, which was also very traumatizing. On top of all of that, my daughter, who was 7 at the time, was being bullied, and she was really struggling with her sense of self-worth. Both the kids were really struggling. My son said that it felt like everything he ever loved was being taken from him, and I was having a hard time, really hard time. Of course, that was all during COVID as well, the peak of COVID. COVID's not over. And I would share some of my daughter's drawings on Twitter, that's what I still call it. And this one name kept popping up and liking these drawings that my daughter did. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Henry Winkler likes my daughter's drawings. And wow, Henry Winkler follows me. And I was a huge Happy Days fan. I love the Fonz. And Henry Winkler feels like America's like grandpa, you know? And he just was very kind and liking Abby's drawings. And then I don't know how it started, but he maybe just said hello in the DMs and was just kind and asked how the kids were doing, how I was doing. And I was very honest with him. I'd never met Henry Winkler. I've still never met Henry Winkler, but I was very honest with him because I didn't know what the utility was in lying, to this perfect stranger who I grew up watching on TV. So I told him everything. I told him all of it. I was really in a bad way, and I was really worried about my kids, and they're everything to me. And he was so generous. He sent this huge package. He asked what they liked. My son was collecting Funko Pops. He sent his own Funko Pop signed. He sent the children's books he's written. He sent CDs, pictures, posters. And he took time to talk to them on the phone. And it was the coolest thing ever. They felt so special. And they knew that this person out there, this famous person, took time out of his very busy life to make sure that they felt taken care of, that they felt seen. And I will forever be eternally grateful for that, because it was one of those things that helped me heal in many ways too. And me healing was important for them to heal. But I just think that's who Henry Winkler is. And he's written a book that is incredible. And it's called Being Henry, The Fonz and Beyond. And I read it as fast as I've ever read anything. But I also listened to the audio recording while I read much of it, which I highly recommend. One or the other, or both, whatever you like. The thing about it, we talk about this a lot on this podcast, is that the Henry who was kind enough and generous and of spirit enough to come and say hello and how are you to me, a stranger, how are your kids? He's in the pages of this book because that's who he is as a human being. He's a truly generous, selfless, giving, kind, warm, wonderful soul. That doesn't even scratch the surface on all of his wonderfulness, because he's also an incredibly talented actor, producer, writer. And his life didn't start out all roses and puppies and sunshine. And he's so gracious and so humble and so warm and wonderful and generous and real, and the kind of person who extends a hand, a helping hand to all others, because he doesn't want anyone to feel bad. And he's so grateful to be here on this earth, which he says in this interview. And it's crazy to me that he's grateful that he's still here, because I am forever grateful that he's here. He's an incredible human being, as I've said. I'm going to cry. And I really enjoy I'm crying in my ugly sweater earrings. Merry Christmas to everyone out there who celebrates Christmas. Happy holidays to everyone else. You will find such great insight and wonderful messaging about moving forward and about, extending kindness to others in the pages of this book. And it's funny too, because he's funny. Being Henry, the Fonz and Beyond. What a wonderful conversation this was. Maybe the best conversation I've ever had in all of my life. And I hope you enjoy it. Okay. Maybe the best conversation I've ever had in all of my life. And I hope you enjoy it. Okay. See you next time. Okay. I just have to open this interview with something personal, something I kind of have to pinch myself about being reality in my life. I'm going to see if I can do this without crying. People say that you are one of the nicest people in Hollywood. And I know that is absolutely true, even though I'm not in Hollywood. But I also believe that you're one of the nicest human beings on the planet. Oh. And I can speak to that personally. Okay, try not to cry. Because when my little family was really struggling, really struggling, you came in, this light, this ray of light into my life, my kids' lives, out of nowhere. And you helped us heal. You started a journey for us towards healing. And you didn't have to do that. So I just wanted to put that out there, not cry. I'm about to cry. And thank you for that. Henry Winkler, my guest today on the Are You Effing Kidding Me podcast. You truly are an incredible human being, and I'm eternally grateful for you.
Well, first of all, thank you. Second of all, it is a pleasure to be here. Third of all, it is amazing how we got here, because we don't know each other. We met when Twitter was so much fun. Mm-hmm. And I got to talk to your kids, who are just bubbles of warmth. And here we are, chatting on your podcast. You are such a vital and inventive human being. You keep moving forward, it seems to me, from when we met to now.
Well, thank you for saying that. And, that's interesting that you said that, because I've just read your book, which is incredible, by the way, Being Henry, the Fonz and Beyond. And what you just said is one of the things that resonated the most with me that's in your book. And it's about this idea of moving forward all the time. And I wanted to talk about that because there's so many themes in this book that I was so surprised by. They hit me really hard. And one of those is about, overcoming adversity. And something I just think is essential to who you are that I never knew. It's all over the book.
You know what? It was a necessity. I had a dream, and I wasn't going to stop until I got to live the dream. And I think that everybody has that ability in them. They just have to be a bendable buddy. Mm. You have to look at what's coming and adapt and change. I wanted to be an actor. I was an actor. And then all of a sudden I couldn't be an actor because people said, oh, he was so great, so funny, but he was the Fonz. Mm-hmm. And so my career as an actor just stopped dead. So I'm sitting at my desk at Paramount Studios thinking, I'm over. What am I going to do now? And then out of necessity, I became a producer. Didn't think I could do it. So the lesson is you don't know what you can achieve until you just try.
I mean, I think that is it's one of those things people say all the time, oh, anything you put your mind to, you can do it. And it used to seem to me like that was a lie. It's like, yeah, sure, that's great. I mean, it's a great sentiment. It's not true. But you can't, I've learned in the last few years, you really can bend your mind. You really can will
Yes,
things. You can put that energy out there. And when you do that, it comes back to you. I really believe that
yes,
now. And you
yes.
are a testament to that.
But you said before that I was a nice guy, and what I what I've come to realize is that I'm not so much nice as I am grateful.
Mm,
I'm just I'm grateful to be on this earth.
hmm
I'm grateful for the wonder that has become my life, which I couldn't see in increments. I could only see now looking back. I
hmm
go, oh, I got to live that. I get to live that.
And, going back again in the book to this idea of overcoming adversity, something that I'm not going to spoil all the surprises or the things in the book that people might not know, but your childhood was definitely not easy. I was not expecting um some of the things you reveal. By the way, I also listened to the audiobook while reading, because that's what I do, because I struggle also with a little bit of attention deficit. And I highly recommend other people listen to the audio version, because you have to hear Henry's accents and his parents' accents really, like, just it's magical. I listened with with Abby and actually with Leo, and uh but going back to this idea of adversity from a young age, you were struggling, first of all, because you didn't know yet that you had dyslexia. You wouldn't know
Right.
until you were like 31. And
Yes.
your parents came from essentially escaping the Holocaust, right?
Right.
So, and they weren't the easiest, warmest, and most encouraging people.
No, listen, uh, I understand that they came from another country. I understand that they learned another language. I understand that my dad started a business in a new country, that I had a pretty good life. Here's what I cannot abide. When you have a child, they are full blown and they are not an extension of us. We bring them into the world and to see who they will be. And embedded in them is who they will be if we just guide them a little.
Mhm.
My parents were completely convinced that I was supposed to make them look good. If I didn't do well in school, I embarrassed them. I wasn't going to do well in school. My brain was wired differently. So I promised that I would be to my wife, Stacy. I promised I would be a completely different parent. I would listen because I believe a herd child is a powerful child.
Mhm. And you came out of what the way I've thought of it reading the book was, it was so cold. It felt your home, you would describe it coming home, and it just felt gray. Everything was heavy, heavy furniture. It was
Yeah,
how
let me
you
tell you,
came.
you didn't move a chair to have a conversation. You didn't say, "Hey, let me just pull this up close to you." You sat in that chair, and that chair was not moving ever again.
Right. And you described the shoes too. Like, these are shoes that are just built differently. It's like, but it's not, there's no softness, there's no nuance. It felt like there was no joy. It was very cold. And so, how did you, Henry Winkler, how did you come out of that? How did you stay somewhat joyful? How did you bring joy into the world?
Well, that, first of all, I didn't think of bringing joy into the world. I just thought about, I need to do this.
Hmm.
I need to live my dream. And it worked out where what my imagination was able to come up with connected. I tell the story of different stories about being the Fonz.
Hmm.
One of them is being so well known, it's hard to leave my apartment. So I had all the fan mail delivered to my little apartment in Hollywood. I had a wet bar. a rented Victrola that a hi-fi that I listened to Dan Fogelberg on, the Electric Light Orchestra,
Mm.
um, a bedroom and a bathroom and did I say sofa? I had a sofa. And then I was asked to be the honorary chairman of the Special Arts Festival downtown in LA at the Music Center. All of the children with physical and mental challenges who made art, who were dancers and poets and painters, and they were artists. And I was walking through, a little girl behind me went, Fonz. I turn around and her mother is dissolved. I said, can I get you something? Is something wrong? She said, you don't understand. My daughter is 7. She just spoke her first word.
Oh my God.
Something that I did jumped off the television into this autistic human being and opened her. I never met her again. I don't know if there was more language, but I know that I experienced that word. Holy moly. It was too much for a very short person to hold.
I mean, that's incredible. I had the privilege of being an aide for autistic preschoolers for 6 years. So
Yes.
I understand a little bit about how that can happen, how that 7-year-old would have seen you on the TV and something about you would have stuck in her mind and been
Yeah.
this thing that motivated her to use her first word. It's incredible, but it really does. It speaks to the power of the way that you connect with human beings and the way that Fonz connected with human beings, because that was not the design of the show. It wasn't supposed to be like, you weren't supposed to be this big component of the show, but you created this character and he was so real, but so like intricate and such a reflection of you, but different at the same time. And I love how you describe how you just like kind of went in for the audition and you threw up the script at the end and you just channeled this person and you were always
I
true to him.
did.
But the Fonz, the thing that was so great about the Fonz, he felt magical. He felt like he had magic, but also he was so humble and real. And he was Fonzarelli.
And
He
he
wasn't
loved his
always
friends.
right.
As
So
tough as
loyal.
he was loyal to his friends. And Mrs. C was his missing mother,
Right.
who later on, like many, many seasons later, we met my mom somewhere. I have forgotten because all I can think about is Marion Ross,
Mm.
who just turned 94
Wow.
and is one of the great women of the 21st century.
Yeah. Yeah. She's became everybody's mom.
Yeah.
Everybody's mom.
Do you
Richie was
know what is,
everybody's brother.
do you know what is interesting? The urban family, those children were scared to have Mrs. C as their mom because they didn't know whether they would be able to negotiate the tough neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
The suburban family, those children only wanted her as a
Yeah.
mom. The duality was amazing in the research.
That is something I would never have considered. It. I didn't even think about the research that would have gone into creating her character or her impact on society. It is really interesting because I was a latchkey kid, and so that mom was not
Where
waiting for
did you
me.
grow up?
In Morris County, New Jersey, Whippany, New Jersey.
Wow. Whippany, I know Whippany.
You do?
I do.
You're kidding.
No, I believe that I went to an incredible Italian restaurant in Whippany
Oh,
in
there's
a strip mall when I was doing a Comic-Con down the road.
well, that could have been in Parsippany called Echo La or Echo Key, but it's in a strip
I
mall. But
think you're right.
yeah, it's great. I've been there a bunch of times. It's great. Yeah, that's it. Parsippany. It's just on the border there, Whippany, Parsippany. That's so funny. It's such a small world. But yeah, so my sister and I were talking the other day because I was down in DC with the kids recently and met up with I have three sisters, but she's the second and closest to me in age. And she and I were talking about being latchkey kids and not having that experience of what Marion brought to the screen in Happy Days. And I think it's part of the reason for myself anyway. I can only speak for myself. Part of the reason I was fixated on her
Yeah.
because she was that mom that I wanted. I wanted to come home to someone who had a cookie for me or wanted to talk to me or was going to talk to my dad behind a door that I had never understood how you guys couldn't hear conversations when the door would close. I was like, how can they not hear them? They're just on the other. But it was magical. There would be this sound barrier. But yeah, I mean, but everybody on that show, you all brought something to the table that like just resonated with me personally. I mean, it was in syndication when I was young, and I think I watched it every day. I think it was on 5 days a week at a certain
Yes, it
point.
was. They
Yeah, and
eventually started to rerun it at 11 in the morning,
oh my God.
you know,
Yeah.
which was like revolutionary because usually the reruns were always held for the summer.
Oh.
But it was so popular that they thought, hell with it, we're gonna run it as soon as we can.
I mean, so popular that if you start singing the song, a lot of people, most people my age, know all the words.
Yeah,
Like it was so popular. It became something that, that I used to worry our kids weren't going to have anything that kind of like they all shared, but in popular culture. But then COVID came along, and so that changed all of that. But we had all these TV shows. We didn't have a ton of content, but we had some, and Happy Days was one of those.
yes.
The thing back to the Fonz too, and it's a theme in the book for me as well, is this idea of humility because it's also interwoven throughout the book. You have so much humility, and the Fonz, for all of his like a cool, he also was a really humble guy in a lot of ways.
Well, what is interesting about that is there must be an emotional component to dyslexia because
Mm,
my self-image was down around my ankles.
yeah.
So when people were talking to me about the giganticness of the effect of the Fonz, I kept looking over my shoulder
Right.
to see who they were talking about because I was just playing this guy I wanted to be
Hmm.
that I never was.
Right.
And then I thought, you know, power really is a mirage.
Hmm.
It's like a lake in the distance. And if you attempt to drink from that lake, it will eventually evaporate.
Hmm.
You have to let other people think you are who they think you are,
Hmm.
and you just go about your life and don't absorb any of that that is attributed to you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you have 20,000 girls screaming outside of a Texas theater. You parted them like the Red Sea,
Oh,
and
that was amazing.
that's pretty
That was
cool.
amazing. So we're at the flagship store of Neiman Marcus in Dallas. The four of us, Ron Howard, Don Most, Anson Williams, and me, are making a personal appearance. They traveled us every few weeks on the weekend in order to promote the show because it was brand new at that time.
Hmm.
So we have a limousine, but the limousine is on the other side of a sea of 20,000, 25,000 people. And Don Most would get very, very nervous. How are we going to do this? How are we going to get out of here? What happens if they come? What happens if they want to touch us? What happens if they want to take our clothing? Oh my God. Okay. So I said, Don, I promise you I will take care of this. I don't know why I was never afraid.
Hmm.
I always just assumed every one of those 25,000 people were loving
Mm-hmm.
to us. So I never wanted to use the Fonz off the show because then I would be typecast.
Right.
So I said, okay. And I used the Fonz for the first time. And I
Hmm.
just went, all right, listen up. You're going to part like the Red Sea. And you're not going to touch us. And I watched these people just go. And I went, all right, guys, let's go. And we started walking, and somebody, I can't actually say what I said, but
You can say
some
it on here.
person,
It's okay.
okay, some person said, "Oh, he's so short." I went, "Hey, fuck you, I'm not short." And somebody else went, "Hey, he is so cool." And we just walked, got in that car, and drove away. It was, I mean, it to think of that way, that I had the nerve.
Yeah.
It was so incredibly fun those days.
But it didn't go to your head. It didn't go to your head. You said you never bought into the hype. And one of these things in the book, it's a story you tell about, man, when you got to LA. First of all, it's like one of my favorite parts of the book. But when you got to LA, the whole thing with the phone and the office, the sleeping at your friend's house and everything. But you talk about when you got your big break on the Mary Tyler Moore show,
Yes.
and you had this amazing like read through with this cast. But by the way, the cast is one of the most legendary casts
It
ever.
was
And
like the
Betty,
friends of that time.
yeah, and I could spend an hour just talking to you about Betty White, but it went great. It was incredible. You break for lunch, and all of a sudden you're standing around by yourself. You don't know where to go. Not like they abandoned you. They all just did what they do, and you
Right.
didn't know what to do, where to go. And you say
Right.
in the book that you said to yourself in that moment, you would never do that to anyone, any actor you ever would. You wouldn't do that
I
to them.
would never let another actor feel that way on a set I was on. And so when we broke for lunch, I would go to the guest cast. I would say, "So this is what we do.
Wow.
The commissary is there. You can bring your own. We go to our dressing rooms, but uh, you want to go to lunch? I'm going. You want to come with?" But the feeling, what I understand now in 2023, that feeling in 1974, 73 was inside me. They
Mm,
weren't doing anything. They
yeah.
were just going to have their meetings, call their agent, put their feet up, have a sandwich. And my deficit was, I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 23 years old, 24 years old, 25. I can figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have a mouse. I have two legs. Everything works. But I felt horrible.
Hmm. Well, I mean, even at the peak of your fame, you talk about being like a child inside in many ways. Even when you were one of the most famous people in the country,
Yeah.
there's that's it that what you felt that day is a childlike response, and I don't mean that as a criticism. It's just,
No, but you're
yeah,
absolutely right, Joanne.
yeah,
You're completely correct.
yeah, and and I understand it, and it's fascinating to me that you're able to look back on all of this journey, this process, from your childhood, from dealing with all of the insecurities and the self-doubt and overcoming in amazing ways, not being able to read a lot of the things that
Right.
were put before you and just
Right.
figuring it out or using your charm.
You know what? There is more than one way to get to the end result. And you just have to be inventive and allow your imagination to figure out how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't read, and I would cover my inability with humor,
Mm-hmm.
but I would also completely mess up the other actors. We were around a table on Monday morning at 10 o'clock reading Happy Days, so that the all of the department heads, of the crew could hear what they had to build or get for clothing or makeup or food or props. And we were reading, and you have to feed the other actor with the right cue so they
Mm-hmm.
know when to come in. I made it up. I couldn't read, so I just improvised all the time, and they were left hanging.
It's one of those things you talked about coming from. This is one of those surprises in the book, by the way. Again, I don't want to spoil everything. So there's a million trillion surprises, and it's incredibly poignant and it's incredibly funny as well.
Mhm.
But you know, you talked about working with different casts and how to do that, and coming from a classically trained theater background, which
Right.
I never knew, and how an improv also didn't know, but how it's different in the way that you interact with your castmates, and the TV for you were like, okay, this is new for me when you got there. It was a
Right.
very new experience, and you had to learn how to interact with the writers, how to interact with the cast.
Right.
And so that was a process, obviously. So not being able to.
But Joanne, that's what I learned in drama school. I
Mhm.
was part of an ensemble. My class, directors and actors and producers and writers, we would form pods and then we would create something, and that was like part of our end project of the end of the year.
Mhm.
A writer, a producer, a director, some actors would all get together. So I learned how to be a member of an ensemble. In Hollywood, a lot of actors are lone wolves or wolvess, as
Mhm.
they female wolves. They are they don't think about listening, about being together. There was an exercise we did where you put your hand up and my hand and about that distance. And if the actor is generous, you feel coming
Mm.
out, their energy coming out of their hand. And you can even close your eyes and very slowly move your hands together because they're connected by
Wow.
this energy. And it's not woo-woo, it really works.
Hmm.
Some actors, you put your hand up and it's like a blank slate, nothing. And then you realize, uh-oh, I'm going to have to do the work of both of us. I'm going to have to pretend this actor is giving me what I need in order for me to do my end of it.
Mhm.
And then you have to make it all up. But
Right.
sometimes Ron Howard and I were connected by a thread. He would go where I went, and I would go where he went, and we would just make it up on show night. It was magical.
And you feel that. You do. I mean, you honestly believe as the viewer that you two have a real bond, a real friendship, and because you did.
To this day.
Yeah. Yeah. He's incredible, and it's so heartening to know that he coming out of the machine as a child that can, chew people up and spit them out. And so many actors really struggle to, adapt. He did
That
not.
is a great point, Joanne. You know what that is? Parenting. His
Oh.
parents were both actors. They left the farm in Oklahoma,
Hmm.
went to New York, did plays, drove out to California,
Hmm.
had Ron and his brother Clint, both actors,
Oh, yeah.
but they would never allow bad behavior.
Hmm.
They would never allow, you're on television. A lot of people know who you are. You're starting to feel heady, especially that young. Ron was 3
Yeah.
when he did Music Man, I think.
Wow.
They never allowed him to get a swelled head. So he was this guy at USC, left USC, started Happy Days, played ball, was good at basketball,
Hmm.
good at baseball.
And
You
he's
know what? I'm just going to open the door and
okay.
I'm going to let Maisie in.
Okay.
He's our golden doodle,
Oh,
and
well,
he
hi,
is
Maisie.
asking me to come in. So
Ruby usually knocks. Yeah, I totally understand.
she has no manners. Come on,
Oh, hi, Maisie.
come here.
Well, actually, Maisie's entrance is a good opportunity for me to segue because I have a special guest as well. Maisie, hello. Um, we are going to move on to we're going to talk about your children's book, but I have a special guest with me who is home sick with COVID, and she
Oh,
wanted to say hello. we've been not super healthy as a household. Abby,
Hello, my
Henry.
darling. How are you? I'm so sorry you're sick.
It's okay.
So,
I've had it for a while because I didn't know I had it.
well, not that
Yeah.
long. A couple
Yeah,
days.
since I had the flu.
Yeah, she had the
Yeah.
flu, then she got better, then she got COVID, so she's getting
Yeah, I
hammered.
understand.
But I
But
was like,
here,
well, just so
this is the
happens Henry's
wonderful
coming.
thing. We talked on the phone, and now I get to see your wonderful self.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to show him
Yeah.
your picture real quick? So, Henry loves your artwork. So, Abby, while she was sick, she drew this picture, and I thought you would like it.
I would love to see it. Can you have to hold it a little
I'll hold it
closer?
closer.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Why don't you explain
Oh,
it?
wow.
Why don't you explain what that is?
So basically, half of the Earth is really healthy and half of the Earth isn't in it because it just like shows how we're not treating the Earth right, and like we need to like recycle more and just be more careful with what we throw away and what we do with stuff, and like smoking and vaping can like put chemicals in the air, and we really don't want that. And then like factories, the smoke and weird stuff coming out of factories is just making the earth really unhealthy too. Oops. And then the stuff we put in like the waters and also in like the oceans and stuff, because animals can get caught in the plastic and they can die.
But we want the Earth to be smiling and happy, right?
Yeah. And then the
You
half
know
of
what?
the one that the side that's bad is not smiling, the one that is happy is smiling.
You know what? I think, first of all, I think you are absolutely correct. Second of all, I am amazed that you are so thoughtful about all of the things that can make the earth ill. And that drawing is brilliant because I see the smile and I see the frown.
Yeah,
It's so clear. You did a great job.
thank you.
Abby is also going to, if she'll indulge us, Leo, because he's at school, because he's okay. He wanted to contribute something. Leo's 14. He's very upset that he's not homesick because all his friends are sick. I'm sick. So he kept trying to will himself to be sick. I kept testing him. He's like, just because it's negative, does that mean it's really negative? What if I have it? I'm like, you don't have COVID, you're going to school. So I do a random question rapid fire round at the end of all of my podcasts. So Leo's contribution, he doesn't know yet that Abby actually got to meet you. He's going to probably be a little mad at his sister, but that's okay. He submitted his questions. Abby's going to read them. They're random rapid fire questions.
Okay,
So
I'm
Abby
ready.
can you read your brother's handwriting?
Kind of.
Okay, start with the first one.
Okay.
Here,
Right
you want
now,
to use the microphone?
Abby, you have to use, I know you don't feel well, but you have to either get closer to the microphone or use your outside voice.
Okay.
No, this child can yell. Believe me, you don't want her using her outside voice. All right, Abby, get closer to the microphone.
Okay. Do you
Hit it,
remember
babe.
signing your first autograph?
Say it again.
Wait, did you hear me?
Yes, do I remember? I'm trying to remember. Do you know what? I don't, because I signed so many, but now you know what happens? Now I take selfies,
Yeah.
right? So now one time I went on a cruise on a ship with my parents, and I was on television, and people had Instamatic cameras. And somebody said to me, "Hey, Fonz, I want to take a picture with you." Oh, I got no film in the camera. Stay right there. I'm going to go get some film. And I thought to myself, I don't think I'm just going to stand here and wait for him. Now you can't get away because the camera is in the phone. So, but I don't remember my first autograph. Just know I've signed a lot.
He even tells a story in the book about how someone, when he was in the bathroom.
Yes. Somebody opened the stall and I said, "Excuse me." They said, "I'm never going to get this chance again."
That's terrifying.
Okay, question 2.
What is a movie/TV role most people didn't know you... Oh, wait. What is a movie/TV role most people didn't know you played in?
Okay. I don't remember the name of it. I played a children's television morning host. And I had a little froggy as my sidekick. We made it in Montana, and I want to say it might be the second worst movie I ever saw.
What's
The
What's
first
the
one,
first?
the first one I did with Kiefer Sutherland
Mm.
called Ground Control.
Oh, yeah, that's in the book.
That was the worst.
Kiefer Sutherland is great. But yeah. Okay, last question. This is going to be hard for you, I think, because
I think I might know the answer to this one, but which actor was the most fun to work with?
You know why that's hard? Because I love my job. So I would have to say my favorite actor is going to be the one I work with next.
oh,
But I loved Ron Howard. I loved Bill Hader in a show called Barry that you can't watch yet. Because it's dark. But I have been very, very fortunate. Oh, on Parks and Rec, I worked with Jenny Slate and Mr. Schwartz, who was my son and my daughter. And they were so funny, I couldn't concentrate. Robin Williams, who played Mork from Mork, was like I was in the presence of greatness.
Oh, we have to show you some Robin Williams stuff. You've probably seen some of his stuff. But that is, we'll have to show you because gone.
But his first breakout role was on Happy Days.
Wait, what? Did I know?
Yes.
Did he?
He played Mork.
He did? So it was
Yes.
I thought it was a crossover from Laverne and Shirley for some reason.
No. Mork came down to earth in order to kidnap Richie, and I stopped him.
What season was that? Was it toward the end?
I don't know. You have to look that up.
I had everybody out there is probably like, come on, how did you not know that? I did not know that.
I did not. I don't know that. But it was when he came onto the set with the script, he was very shy. Hello, Papa. Hello. Nice to meet you. And then he picked up the script, and I am telling you, it was a volcano of imagination erupted on stage 19. And I knew my whole job was to stay out of his way and not laugh. Because he never did anything twice the same.
Abby, he's the genie in Aladdin.
Which
the original, the Disney animated one. That's what you're talking about. Like
Yes.
the genie, that energy that was all mostly, ad lib, just because that's the genius.
That's what he did.
Yeah.
He got his own show, Mork and Mindy.
Yep.
And our script on Happy Days was 54 pages long. Their script on Mork and Mindy was 33 pages long because it said, Robin will say something here. They couldn't even write for him because he just invented every minute he was on this earth.
Oh, such a gift. I mean, yeah, that I think someone could devote like 17 million podcasts to just talking to Henry about all of these amazing people he's gotten to work with, because knowing you and how incredible you are, but you mixing with those people who are many of them gone, especially Robin, like that's a book in itself.
Yeah. It was really a tremendous loss.
Yeah.
When Robin died.
And it serves as a reminder that just because you think you know what is going on with a person because of the outside appearance, you don't.
Major lesson. You are so right, Joanne.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the times, a lot of people make that mistake with others, but also, in assuming that the Fonz is like always like, hey, cool, like that's also Henry, but it's, so much of that really
was just my imagination.
Yeah. and a journey for you, I guess, your own sense of self and your own identity, and getting to know why you've done the things you've done the way you've done them. But you've so many lessons to teach. And
You know what, Joanne? I want to tell you something. That is a lovely thing to say, because I'll tell you why. It was frightening, first of all, to think of doing this book. My son, Max, who is now 40, who just hired me as an actor.
oh,
He's
congratulations.
running a show in New York, and he asked me, his dad, to be in it for one episode. Oh, but anyway, Max suggested I write this book. It scared me out of my mind. I knew how to do children's books, but this is a whole other kettle. And all I wanted was to make somebody laugh. And maybe one thing that I learned in my journey, somebody would say, oh, you know what? That resonates. I can use that. If that happened, and somebody said that to me, that would be my heaven on earth.
There's a million opportunities in the book for that to happen. One of them for me personally, because there's 100, I mean, million. But you say, I got bored of telling myself, no, you can't do this thing. And I just got up and did it.
Because I realized, you know what? Most people don't realize that they are powerful. They haven't even tasted their power, or they're scared of their power. But if they make friends with their power, you just can't believe what you can achieve thinking, no, I couldn't do that. And all of a sudden, here I am with you ladies.
Don't I tell you that all the time? Because the last few years of my life have been completely different. And what I've said to the kids all the time, and I'm very annoying about it, is that the lesson here is that if you really believe you can do something and you put all your mind and effort and energy into doing it, you can make it come to fruition.
You
and
bet.
I say, I'm very annoying about it.
Yeah.
No, but you're very right. In that fan mail that I talked about, all those boxes that were delivered to my apartment in the beginning, I got a metal cutting. And it said, if you will it, it is not a dream. If you will it without doubt, you can actually make it happen.
I believe that. I really do believe that. And it also, it brings you joy, and it brings you validation, and it
Yes.
legitimizes you. And
Yes.
I fully believe that. Isn't that, like I said, there's so many lessons just in you as a human being, but you're happy sharing them and passing them on, and that wisdom that you're imparting on others, and it's just so generous of spirit. And I thank you for it. You do it with this book being Henry, but you also do it with your children's books, some of which were inspired by your own struggles with dyslexia, which is incredibly paying it forward. Beautiful of you to do. And now we've got a new book, right? A new children's book, Detective Duck and the Big
Detective
Splash.
Duck. She is the only duck who has a beaver for a dad.
Whoa! Wow!
And she is an environmentalist. So if something happens to her pond, she uses her detective skills to make her pond better. That is just like the Abster.
Yeah. We love it. We love it. You've written how many? Dozens and dozens of children's books, right?
With Lynn Oliver, I have written 40 children's books.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that, again, speaks to the generosity of your spirit. And
Yeah, but you know what, Joanne? That was a time filler. That I couldn't get hired as an actor. I went to a friend. I said, I need help. I can't get hired. He said, write books for children about your learning challenges. That's where Hank Zipser came from. And now, and there is the lesson. You don't know what you can do until you do it. All of a sudden, it's another profession. It went from time filler to 40 books.
Books that help kids books that help kids not struggle the way you had to struggle. They don't have to feel stupid because there's something different in their brains. I mean, that's doesn't feel like filler to me. It feels like pretty fulfilling to me.
You know
So
what, though? But that's a lovely thing to say. Thank you. But I will say what you just said is so true. Just because you learn differently, it has nothing to do with how brilliant you are.
100% the truth. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna cry now. I grew up absolutely loving you. I told you that already. I was gonna ask you about the dance, the Kazakh dance, because I always wondered if that was real or if that was some kind of weird, like early CGI.
When I was in the 6th grade, my parents took me to Madison Square Garden in New York, and I saw the Musayev Folk Ballet, where they do the Kazatsky, and they fly. These men and women do things, and I couldn't breathe. I was so inspired, and I taught myself a bastardized version of the Kazatsky in my room, and there it was on Happy Days.
Who knew that that would come back to be one of the
You
most
never know.
Right. I mean, that's one of my favorite episodes of all time. But yeah, and also jumping the shark has become just a part of like a lexicon of like that's jumping the shark is a reference to the show that we use that in reference to all sorts of things now. So you're forever baked into like the language that we use.
And let me just say, I am very proud. I am the only actor on the earth who has jumped the shark twice. Once on Happy Days, and then they had me do it on Arrested Development.
I didn't know that. I'm one of the 4 people on the planet who didn't watch Arrested Development, and now I'm so ashamed to admit that I'm like, I can't watch it now. I did not know.
You can watch it now.
No, I need to. It's
It
one
will
of those
make
things.
you laugh.
I know. I love everyone on that cast too. It's like one of these things I was like, oh, I felt I wasn't cool enough to watch it at the time, and now I'm like, okay, I can't admit this in public. I just admitted
Well,
it.
Joanne, can I just say, you are absolutely cool now.
Oh, well, did you hear that? Said I'm cool. Like I can die happy now. Well, that is a really great note to let you go on because you have been incredibly generous with your time. We're pretty grateful, right? I mean, I'm not happy she's here, that she's sick, but I'm glad that she got to experience this opportunity to say hello to you.
You know what? That makes 2 of us. I'm so happy you're here, Abs.
And well, again, the book is Being Henry the Fonz and Beyond. The children's book is Detective Duck, and The Big Splash, I think it is
That's right.
yeah. And there's lots of other children's books. There's also Barry, of course. That's your Emmy, I'm assuming, back there. Congratulations.
Yes. I have no shame. I carry it everywhere. I tried to make it into a necklace, and it was just too heavy. I was like this all the time.
Again, that speaks to you never know. You went 40 years, you said, in this with your butt. You're sitting in the seat, not 40 years of it, but you were up for Emmys, didn't get them. And then all of a sudden, later in your life, there it is. And
and I had a great life until I got it, I got to tell you.
Yeah. And we are all the better for all of it, for your journey, for your voice, for your spirit, for your soul, for your beauty and your generosity of spirit. I mean, it is just, you are a gift to the universe. And I think everyone, no matter what their political stripe, would say the same. Well, if they don't, I'll kick their asses.
Before we recorded, you know, Mom and I met on Twitter when Twitter was so much fun.
Yeah.
And here we are, never having met. All of a sudden, we're on your mom's podcast. Your mom is great at this. The conversation flowed like a river.
Oh.
And I have to say, I am so happy we had this time together. Have the best holiday possible.
Thank you. And thank you for that. I'm probably going to need to make a small recording of that and then carry it around with me just to hit that button all the time.
You do that because you are wonderful, Joanne.
Oh, well, wow. Okay, I'm going to be walking around here.
You do not hold back when you write a tweet. It jumps off the screen and smacks people like a noodle.
I think that was I think I have a lot to say too. I have a lot to
You
say,
you do.
yeah. And I have a little bit of Fonz in me for sure. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Happy holidays to you. Big hugs to your family, your beautiful giant family. And Maisie, thank you for appearing on my podcast. Okay, everybody else, happy holidays, and
Happy
we'll
holiday.
see you next time. Thanks,
Bye,
Henry.
everybody.